arresting her?
Why are you arresting her? Why are you arresting her?
Cite the violation. Cite the code. What is she in violation of? I want you to cite the code. Cite the code. Cite it. What are you? Cite the code. Cite the code. Cite the code. Why are you arresting her? Under what? Under what? Under what law are you arresting her? Why are you arresting her? Why are you arresting her? Tell us now. Why are you arresting her? Cite it. Give me a reason why you are arresting her. Give me a reason why you are arresting her. She is an elected representative. Why are you arresting her? Why are you arresting her? What? Under what statute are you arresting her? Under what statute? The governor is signing a law that will affect all Georgians, and you are choosing to arrest an elected official.
So this is what we doing now, Georgia? Arresting elected officials? This is seriously what we're going to do now. After what we just dealt with in this election. The first thing you do, Brian Kemp, is that you sign a bill that your house passed to take the great state of Georgia back to the days of Jim Crow. Back to the days of what hell our ancestors and grandparents and great-grandparents had to go through just to be able to cast a vote. You're going to take us back. You're going to take everybody in Georgia back. It's bad enough that Jim Crow alone, and if anybody younger is listening to this right now, Jim Crow was a term used to basically make sure that black folks could not vote. Or if they could vote, it was conditional. Okay? That's the thing. The thing is, okay, let's see how far we can take this. Because, let's not forget that Georgia, for the first time as far as I can remember, turned into a blue state and made sure that Trump did not win re-election. Basically, what Jim Crow is, it was a series of segregation laws enacted as early as the 1890s, primarily in southern and border states. These laws were designed to create a separate but equal status for black Americans and other non-white racial groups. The enactment of Jim Crow began shortly after Reconstruction, but the most stringent restrictions were established following the Supreme Court case Plessy v. Ferguson, which created, quote, separate but equal doctrine. It's a history lesson for anybody who was unsure what exactly Jim Crow is. Now, another theory that some of us, I don't know if some of us may have forgotten it or not, but at the time when Mr. Kemp ran for governorship, here's a little thing about him. A little thing about Mr. Kemp is, when he ran for the governorship, he ran against Stacey Abrams. Quite sure a lot of you know who Stacey Abrams is, if you've watched the news as of late. When he ran against Stacey Abrams, what many people probably have forgotten was, at the time, he was the Georgia Secretary of State. He did not leave his position. He did not step down from being Secretary of State to run for governorship. He kept the position, in which, in my opinion, he abused his power to become the governor of Georgia. And what he didn't expect was, he thought Stacey would just go in the corner and lick her wounds and that would be it. No. You know what Stacey did? Stacey worked tirelessly and rallied people to vote in this election, which pissed every Southern Republican off. And here's something else that many of you may not know. I don't know if you've seen this or not. When Brian Kemp signed this bill into law, he was surrounded by men of the same color as him. And the picture that was in the background of these gentlemen, while Mr. Kemp signed into this law, was a picture of a plantation. If that does not speak volumes as to what's going on in Georgia, you might want to wake up. Because this is only the beginning. And what really is fascinating about all of this, sad as it may seem, but also fascinating, all of this came about because, in my opinion, the Georgia Republicans, they're pulling out all of these stops because they are afraid of one woman. One woman. One woman with the means, one woman with the drive, one woman with the connections, one woman with a relationship with the community. They are afraid of Stacey Abrams. I'm going to put it out there. They're afraid of her because of the change that she can inflict, because of her being able to turn a tide. And you go so far as to arrest an elected official who was doing her job. Doing her job. She knocked on Brian Kemp's door. She can do that. She's an elected official. I don't know what the hell is going on in the Capitol building down in Atlanta, but it's slowly starting to look like Roots and Django Unchained. Massa Boss is signing a contract. And the good niggers are riled up. So what we do is we call our handlers, the Georgia State Patrol, to tame this riled up nigger. Who the hell does she think she is knocking on my door to question me? There's a little thing called the Constitution, Kemp. That woman had every right to knock on your door and ask you to not put this bill into play because of the ramifications that are involved. She has the right to do that. Now, if she was a civilian trying to knock on your door and we didn't know what her intentions were, then okay, I understand the Georgia State Patrol coming to arrest her. But this woman was doing her job, trying to convince you not to put this tragic bill into play in the great state of Georgia. President Biden himself said it was disgraceful in his Jim Crow era. He said, and I quote, this is Jim Crow 2021? And you signed it so quickly, behind closed doors, with other men who look like you in front of a picture of a plantation. If that does not speak volumes, I don't know what else will. Now, my personal opinion about it is I think the bill should be recalled. Because some of the contents of this bill is unconstitutional and downright disrespectful. But none of you seem to care about that because you'd rather spend more time trying to get back into the good graces of a former president who right now is not even relevant. As a matter of fact, I believe you had some members of your state house go down to Mar-a-Lago and try to earn his endorsement. Or Kemp, let me ask you a question. Are you trying to get back into his good graces because he dogged you? Because you and your Secretary of State would not bend or break the rules for him? If I'm not mistaken, I believe, he asked you to, fine some votes? And when you and your Secretary of State told him that you guys couldn't do that, he dogged you. He publicly humiliated you. So, what I would deem this as is revenge. You want to do any and everything just to be able to get back into his good graces so that way he'll come out for you when it's time for you to get reelected. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't do it for the people. No. You did voter suppression. And if you knew your history like I think you do, you know voter suppression was very popular in Georgia back in the 60s. So 50 years later, 50, 60 years later, you come back and say, hey, let's go through this again. Let's put the people through this again. Let's not have people who are standing outside waiting to vote. Let's not give them anything. Not a thing. Let's not give them nothing. Let them stand there. Let them sweat. Maybe they'll give up and walk away. What you did, Kemp, was that you just strengthened the resolve of a people that no matter how much you want them to say die, no matter how much you want them to quit, they're not going to. And that's the part that you're having the most problems with dealing with. You want to do any and everything, just like that idiot Ted Cruz in Texas. And that governor over there who I will not remember his name, and I don't want to. It seems like every time a Democrat wins a higher office than you, all you southern states do whatever you need to do to make sure that our voices are silent and that yours are loud. But then when it turns around and backfires on you because the one person's voice whose attention you're trying to get could give two shits about you. Because if you can't do anything for him, you're not worth his time. You're not worth his conversation. You're not worth anything to him. And you know damn well who I'm talking about. You are willing to sacrifice your reputation. You are willing to sacrifice the lives of the people in your respective states to get his attention, to get his knighthood, if you will. It won't work. It doesn't work. He tried it with my governor, Gretchen Whitmer. He tried it with her. And Gretchen and our respected Attorney General told him exactly where he can go. And that's the part that I love the most. Because basically she told him, hey, as far as we're concerned, you ain't got to come back up here. There's that. Now, Mr. Kemp, what is your end game? You figure what, if you close the polls at 5 o'clock when most people are just getting off work, You think that's going to work? It's not. You want to know why it's not? Because if I'm not mistaken, last election, I believe I had the day off, along with every other American who's registered to vote. If I'm wrong, correct me. But last I checked, I had the day off. And I probably got up, went and voted. How do you think this is going to bode well for you? I don't think you're understanding what you've done. I really don't think you understand what you've done. I don't. But you'll find out the hard way. You will find out the hard way. So, moving on to a personal matter. Today is March 27th. Last weekend, March 20th, some people decided that I didn't need my truck anymore. And I understand in a little bit of places, things happen. I understand that. The part why I'm upset about it is because the truck belonged to my father. It's the last piece of him that I have left. And someone felt compelled to want to take that from me. So it's safe to assume that I have not been in a good place in a while. Not for a minute. But like I said, I understand things happen. And I can't hold on to it. But it's bothersome. It's very bothersome. I guess they felt like they needed it more than me. It just sickens me that that's where we've gone to. That's where we've reached. To where we have to take things from people that don't belong to them, no matter what the sentimental value of it is, and no matter what the cost is. And it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. But, I understand these things happen. But I will say this. There's a little thing called karma. Karma has a bad habit of getting to everybody. And eventually it will get to you. And I hope karma does get to you before I do. But, we're going to move on from that because that was just a little slight rant. My next segment that we're going to do we call it Derrick. Oh man, Derrick Jaxn. You are the epitome of scumbag. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say that I'm perfect because I'm not. I've done some things I believe me, I regret a lot. I've done a lot of things that later on, looking back at it, I regret. But you, my friend, dude, you take the word audacity to a whole new level. As a matter of fact, where do you get your audacities from? What store is it? I'm wondering. Where do you get your audacities from? How much do they cost? Do they have a layaway plan? Do they have financing that I can get some on credit? Because you actually sat here for months at a time. For months. I have seen your ugly ass all over social media bashing the same kind of men that, lo and behold, you have turned out to be just like. They should come out with a documentary for you called 12 Years a Slut. Because you publicly humiliated the mother of your children, your wife, and the stories that I have heard, you invited one of them to your home, where you and your wife lay every night. And this woman felt comfortable enough to be in that room, in that house, taking pictures, documenting everything. And you had no problem with it. Then as I'm reading some of the things that I want to say your wife was saying, she saw stuff in your phone, pictures of women she knew, women she didn't know, and you sat there, put her on a YouTube video, publicly shamed and embarrassed her, then turned around and said, I blame God for it. I'm sorry, what? You said because you got saved, because this happened, I guess, another time. You got saved, and then all of a sudden, it's God's fault? It's God's fault you cheated. Because had you not been saved, you wouldn't have did it. The reason why you got saved in the first place was because you agreed to go to counseling, and I guess in that aspect, you allegedly got saved. And now all of a sudden, you want to sit here and actually fix your lips to say, God made me do it. I have seen pathetic. I have heard of pathetic. But my friend, you take the cake. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not. But I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you one thing. Why I can sit here and say that I'm judging the hell out of you right now is because all of that crap that you spewed on social media about men this and men that, and you know, if a man is going to be like this or be like this, then ladies, you shouldn't be with him. But those same men that you were sitting up dogging and clowning and whatever it is that you think you were doing, you were no better. No better. And then you publicly humiliate... Dude, you publicly humiliated your wife by bringing her on a damn YouTube video. Looked like you just pulled her out of bed. Looked like you just pulled her out of bed. And in that, you sit up here and you glorified what you did. You glorified what you did. And said, yeah, you know, I did this and I did that. And she's sitting here looking like, what? Wait a minute, what? And now she's the subject of public ridicule because you pulled her out the bed looking like she just woke up. You all clean cut with a shirt on and everything and holding her hand and giving her the Ike Turner stare down based off shit that she's saying as if you rehearsed it. What's your end game, Derrick? You trying to sell another book? Another pointless Steve Harvey wannabe book? How to keep your woman, cheat on her, and make it look like it's her fault. And then you set up and have her to have a damn reaction video based off the initial video that you posted. And then you want to talk as if you're the third person. I have seen and met some slime balls in my time. As a matter of fact, truth be told, I was one of those kind of slime balls to where I didn't give a fuck about nobody but me. But you, my friend, you make me look like the Pope. Because your audacity is out of control. Because see, a real one, wouldn't have been no confession video. It'd have been one of two things. You would have been breaking news, or instead of a confession video, it would have been a live execution. Because you'd have read your confession, and that would have been the last thing you would have read. That's the part you don't get. Derrick, find a hole, crawl into it, and don't come out of it. Because, my friend, if you think for 1 second that God-fearing wife that you have, that she released a video looking oh so militant, you broke her with your bullshit. That has repercussions. You have no idea what kind of repercussions you have coming to you. And if you're not careful, at any given moment, at any given time, you will find out what those repercussions are. And it will be at a level that you're not capable of handling, nor a level that you would expect coming from her. Now, if anyone has ever seen any pictures of this woman, she's a beautiful woman. When she all put together, she's a very beautiful woman. And what did you decide to do? You decided to do exactly what you did. She sat up here, hair not done, she got the natural look going on and everything. And you broke her. And then you want to have the nerve to sit up here and say, don't attack my spouse, attack me. You did this. Rather than doing what adults would do and handle the thing in-house, let's make a public spectacle out of it. Because I don't know, you trying to sell another book? And the sad part is you actually had people believing your bullshit. You had actual black women out here vulnerable enough to buy your brand. And they fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. That nice house you living in was off the backs of a lie. You're a walking, talking lie. You know, you remind me of Trump. Just lie. No accountability. And you've been doing it for 12 years. And you like, yeah, I did it. And this is why. The factor of you did it is enough. We don't care why. You did it. And rather than trying to make excuses or a public spectacle, what you need to be doing is healing your wife from the damage you caused by making this viral, by taking this public. I have never been a person to concern myself about matters in a house I don't live in. I concerned myself with matters in my own home, famous or not. I don't care. It ain't paying my bills. It ain't feeding me. So why should I care? That's the problem with people. All people. Is that you want people to be concerned with you. Whereas people like myself could care less. Friends of mine could care less. If it doesn't affect your household, why do you concern yourself with it? I'm speaking on this idiot because that's exactly what he is. He's a clown. He don't need blackface. He black enough. That being said, we'll be back next week. May have a special guest or two. Till then, love y'all.